Hi, Mrs. Ramirez here again. Module 2, Lesson 8. We're dividing fractions, and this time we're working with mixed numbers. There it is, 4.5, and down here, 3 4/7. When we divide with mixed numbers, we need to make them into an improper fraction, a fraction that's greater than 1, before we start breaking it into groups. Okay, so example 1, we are figuring out paint. Carly has 4.5 walls left to paint in order for all the bedrooms in her house to have the same color paint. However, she has used almost all of her paint and only has 5/6 of a gallon left. How much paint can she use on each wall in order to have enough paint to paint the remaining walls? Okay, whenever we have division problems, we always need to ask what gets broken down. Okay, so what here gets broken? What gets broken down? Okay, so what gets broken down? Well, we have 4.5 walls and we have 5 1/6 gallons of paint. And in this situation, what it looks like is we're not breaking walls into parts, we're breaking the gallons of paint. So what gets broken down? 5/6 of the gallon of paint, because it gets broken onto other walls. So whenever the one we find is the one that gets broken down, that's got to be the number that goes in front of my division problem. So therefore, if we know 5/6 is what's getting broken into the 4.5 walls, I'm going to write it this way. 5/6 gallon of paint divided by, broken into groups of 4.5. Now, the 4.5 we need to make from a mixed number to an improper fraction. So over here on the side, 4.5 equals how many halves? Now, if I have a whole number of 4, that means I have 4 groups of 2/2. So I have 2/2. I got that 2 because the denominator is 2 already. So I have 4 groups of this 2/2, which is my giant 1. So I can do 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the one that's already there is 9. 9 halves. 9 halves is equal to 4 1/2, in this case, walls. So that makes sense because if I had 4 groups of 2/2 plus the 1. So I can't use the 4.5. I need to make it in the same format. So I'm going to rewrite 5/6 divided by 9 halves. A couple different ways to do it. What I'm going to do is the copy dot flip way, showing that it's 5/6, the first opposite division to make multiplication. The second is the reciprocal, 9 halves making 2/9. Now I can multiply that together. 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 9 is 54. So I have 10 54ths, and I need to reduce that. So 10 54ths I can reduce by 2. So half of 10 is 5. Half of 54. Well, I know half of 50 is 25, and half of 4 is 2. So therefore, if I have 25 plus 2, that would give me 27. 5/27. That seems pretty small. 5/27 gallon of paint. Okay, I can see if that makes sense. I want to see if that actually makes sense. So let's do some estimation. 5/27 gallons of paint per wall. Okay, but let's see if that actually makes some sense. Okay, so if I estimate, I'm gonna actually estimate over here. 5/6, that is the less than one, but I'm gonna estimate, and I'm gonna call that about one. It's less than one. But then I'm going to estimate 4.5 to be 5. So if I estimate 1 divided by 5, 1 broken into 5 groups, how much is going to be in each group? Well, remember how we said the fraction bar can also be a division sign? It's going to be 1/5. So I'm going to have 1/5 of each one in a group. So I could actually rename this 5/5 as my giant one instead of actually 1. 5/5 broken into 5 groups, 1/5 in each. So is that close? Well, 1/5 and 5/27. I'm not absolutely sure about that, but I know I can make 1/5 of, that's my estimate, and multiply it by 5 and see if it's close. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Is it close? Yeah, it's actually really close. So therefore, my estimation makes sense with my answer. And remember, with a word problem, I need to answer in a complete sentence. Carly will use 5/27 gallon of paint for all remaining walls. Very, very small. That's because we already started with less than a gallon to divide by 4.5. So the estimation is different than the actual, but it's very close because I was able to work that. You're going to calculate the quotient on B as well, and then we will work on the memory game that is the remaining classwork for today. Continue with some more directions here in a while. Happy learning!